Let's talk about the famous self-attribution question. You've got a customer, lands on a landing page, fills out a form. Would you have an open question or a drop-down menu for that attribution question?
I see the value in both, but in my view, if you have the people to actually review it and consolidate the responses and actually look at it, I would say do the open question because you get more interesting insights there. The drop down, it's good for reporting because you can categorize. Obviously, it's good for that. So I would say if you have the bandwidth and you have somebody on your team or whether it's you to actually go through those responses and look at them and actually, take into consideration what they're saying, then use that data to inform your campaigns. I'd say do that. But if you can't do that, then I would say stick with the drop down because it's more consistent data. So I think it depends on your team and what you're doing.
I'm team open question. I'm only really familiar with HubSpot, but we could probably create a workflow where if that question contained some type of keyword, then you can route that so your reports look cleaner.
You could do some natural language processing through ChatGPT, for example. You could throw all those responses into ChatGPT and tell it to categorize them. So you could do that. It's actually
really?
So maybe I'll change my answer now, knowing that, because that's a good point. You could do that. So
The second you mentioned ChatGPT, Brody changes his answer every time. But let's be honest, self-attribution question, we don't live in a world where there's a single answer for how they found you, period. It's impossible. Understanding how people are discovering you, I think, is going to be better if it's open versus just selecting a pull down.
And then a couple tips for those out there. I would say make sure it's a required field. Don't make it optional, obviously. And set a character minimum so they don't just put in random stuff.
I don't know. I'm going to revise I think you just have a drop down menu that says, how'd you hear about us, sales or marketing?
That would be so good. Unless they put sales.
I would check marketing every time.